Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nichalatatvam, nichalatatve jivanmuktihi, punarapi jananam, punarapi marana, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. इह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे.
सदाशिव समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरु परंपरां. To the Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam, in the introduction, Shankaracharya has cited a verse. It's a Puranic verse which reads, Narayana paro vyaktat andam avyakta sambhavam Andasyantastvime dvipa lokaha saptadvipacha medini. So this shloka says that our reality that is called Narayana is beyond Tattva, that is the one which is very, very essential for the creation of the universe. So Abhyakta, it's called Abhyakta. Narayana paraha Abhyaktat. Andam Abhyakta Sambhavam. Anda is the Brahmanda, which consists of 14 lokas, and that Brahmanda is created or born from this Abhyakta Tattva or Maya Tattva. And Andasya Antastu Ime Lokaha, all these 14 lokas where jivas inhabit and live and experience their earlier karma palas, and they also accumulate more karma for themselves. So these are the 14 lokas where jivas exist. And these lokas are within the Brahmanda and Saptadvipacha Medini. And this, which consists of 7 islands, is also within this. So with this introduction, Bhagavad Pada gives with this Vedantic introduction, he gives a gist of the Bhagavad Gita and what he wants to say there and all that. And in this Bhagavad Gita, the 13th chapter is considered to be very seminal or important for Vedanta, because here we find the discrimination between the Kshetram and the Kshetrajna. Kshetram is normally translated as matter, which is called Prakriti, in other words. And Kshetrajna is the consciousness part of it, which is called spirit. Sometimes they give that the translation, but consciousness is a very good, better translation for Kshetrajna. So this discrimination is very, very important because, as Bhagavad Pada has pointed out in the Adhyasa Bhashya at the beginning itself, that only because of the lack of discrimination between the matter and spirit, there has come about what is called an admixture of these two, that is the body-mind complex and the Atman. And the person considers himself to be no doubt sentient entity, but also someone who is endowed with the body-mind complex, and he is, in fact, the body-mind complex, which is sentient. So this kind of a very weird or impossible coming together of these of the matter and spirit, Vishaya and Vishayi, that's how it's called in the Adhyasa Bhashya, is the cause of samsara, and the remedy from samsara is to discriminate between these two and know or claim oneself to be the consciousness and not the matter, and also that the matter aspect which has been separated from the from this mixture is to be regarded as, or is to be realized to be non-existent. So that's also a very key point here. And all these things are there in the 13th chapter. And in certain places in the 13th chapter, we can easily feel that it is a kind of a miniature Adhyasa Bhashya itself. So in this way, this chapter is very, very important in the sense that it teaches the discrimination between the body-mind complex and how to do that, and also the qualifications required for a person to embark upon this kind of a inquiry or sadhana. So all these are there inside within that one chapter, and that therefore that chapter becomes very, very important as a standalone chapter itself, or a standalone Vedanta topic. This is a very good chapter. So we have taken up that chapter for our study here, and we will be reading out each and every sentence of the Bhashyam and trying to be meaning conveyed by that. So here we start Bhagavad Pada's introduction to this 13th chapter. Saptame Adhyaye Suchite Dve Prakriti Ishwarasya Trigunaatmika Ashtadha Bhinna Apara Samsara Hetutvat Paracha Anya Jiva Bhuta Kshetragna Lakshana Ishwaratmika Yabhyam Prakritibhyam Ishwaraha Jagad Utpatti Sthiti Laya Hetutvam Pratipadyate. So he is setting the context for this chapter. He is linking this with what has been taught in the 7th chapter. So that way, 7th chapter and 13th chapter, both these chapters have something in common, and that's what he is bringing out here. Saptame Adhyaye Suchite Dve Prakriti Ishwarasya. There are two kinds of nature we can call. Prakriti is normally translated to be nature, and Ishvara is endowed with these two natures or attributes. And in the 7th chapter, the Prakriti Dvayam, that is Para Prakriti, that is called higher nature, and Apara Prakriti, which is called the lower nature. These two are stated to be the two inputs with which the Lord creates this universe. So that's how the Bhagavad Gita also calls these two. Saptame Adhyaye Suchite Dve Prakriti Ishwarasya. One is Trigunatmika Ashtadha Bhinna Apara Prakriti. This is what is actually translated to Kshetram in this 13th chapter. Apara Prakriti is called Kshetram in the 13th chapter, and Para Prakriti is what is termed as Kshetragna in the 13th chapter. So Trigunatmika Ashtadha Bhinna Para Samsara Hetutvat. So this is the one which is the cause of samsara. If consciousness were to be by itself, there would not have been any samsara at all. But only because consciousness, pure consciousness, assumes itself to be this the product of this Trigunatmika Maya, that is the body-mind complex, the problem of samsara is there. So Trigunatmika Ashtada Bhinna Prakriti, that is the Prakriti is broken down in eight parts. There are 8 components which constitute the whole created world. So Trigunatmika Ashtada Bhinna, that's called Apara Prakriti, that's called lower Prakriti, which is because it's called Apara because it is samsara hetu. It is the cause of samsara. Then Paracha Anya, that is the other Prakriti with which Ishvara creates this world, is the consciousness part of it, that is called Para Prakriti, which is higher Prakriti. Jiva Bhuta Kshetragna Lakshana. So this is the consciousness part of it. It is called Kshetragnam in the 13th chapter. Ishwaratmika Yabhyam Prakritibhyam Ishwaraha. So he qualifies this to be Ishwaratmika in the sense, in the 2nd chapter, the 13th chapter, the very 2nd shloka says that, Bhagavan says there that Kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. So the consciousness principle existing in every being, every living being, is actually Brahman itself. So that's what Bhagavan himself says that. And that's why Bhagavad Gita says here that Para Prakriti is Ishwaratmika. So Yabhyam Prakritibhyam, with these two Prakritis or these two natures, Ishwaraha Jagad Utpatti Sthiti Laya Hetutvam Pratipadyate. So pure consciousness or Nirguna Brahman comes to be the creator, that is, it comes to be the Jagat Karanam only because of these two Prakritis. If Nirguna Brahman it were to remain by itself, there is no way there can be any world at all. But then, since we encounter a world and experience it, the Shastram is now bringing about a fusion between that Nirguna Brahman and a power called Maya. And by this, with a kind of mixture of or a coming together of Nirguna Brahman and Maya is the one which produces Ishvara on the one hand, and of course the Jiva and Jagat also as a corollary to that. So Yabhyam Prakritibhyam Ishvaraha Jagad Utpatti Sthiti Laya Hetutvam Pratipadyate. So Nirguna Brahman comes to be called Jagat Karanam Ishvara only by association with these two Prakritis called Apara Prakriti, that is Kshetram or Maya, and this Para Prakriti called Kshetragna, that is the nature of Jiva. Tatra Kshetra Kshetragna Lakshana Prakriti Dvaya Nirupana Dvarena Tadvataha Ishwarasya Tattva Nirdharanartham Kshetradhyayah Arubhyate. So now or the goal or the purpose of this particular 13th chapter is being stated by Bhagavad Pada here. Kshetra Kshetrajna Lakshana Prakriti Dvaya Nirupana Dvarena. So by expounding the concept of Kshetra and the concept of Kshetrajna, what is being sought to be achieved is the clear realization of this tattvam, that is the Paramartha tattvam, that is what is required for the eradication of samsara. So the 13th chapter has for its aim, the ultimate aim, the setting out or setting forth the tattva jnanam, and with that aim, the means for that aim is the exposition of the Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the nature of the Kshetram and the nature of Kshetrajna, and how these two have come together and how they should be discriminated from each other. All these things are there in the 13th chapter with the sole aim of, or with the ultimate aim of teaching the Tattva. So here we can easily see a kind of a sin which is called Adhyaropa Apavada, which Bhagavad Pada himself names it in this very chapter itself later, and here he gives an indication of that without naming it. So tatra kshetra kshetrajna lakshana prakriti dvaya nirupana dvarena, that nirupanam, that the exposition of this kshetra and kshetrajna is a means, and it is called adhyaropa, because this kshetra and kshetrajna, even though kshetrajna is pure consciousness, the connection with the kshetram is what is highlighted in this chapter, and that is called the adhyaropa. Tadvataha Ishwarasya Tattva Nirdharanartham. Since Ishvara is stated to be the one who is having these two prakritis at his disposal, with which alone he creates this world, now the tattva of Ishvara as someone who is different, or who is clearly distinct from these two tattvas, that is Kshetra and Kshetrajna, that Ishvara, whose ultimate nature will be again pure consciousness or Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, which is the true nature of the Jiva also. So Ishvara says Tattva Nirdharanartham. So Ishvara has been now presented as the one who is endowed with these two prakritis, Apara Prakriti and Para Prakriti, called Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And the Tattva of Ishvara is to show that Tattvam to be distinct from these two and are separated from these two as pure Brahman or pure consciousness. For that purpose, this Kshetradhyaya is being taught by Bhagavan. Atita Anantara Adhyaye cha Adveshta Sarvabhutanam Ityadina Yavat Adhyaya Parisamaptihi Tavat Tattvajnaninam Sanyasinam Nishtha Yatha Te Vartante Ityetate Bhuktam. So now he is giving a link between the immediately preceding chapter, that is the 12th chapter, which is called Bhakti Yoga. It's a very small chapter, with very less slokas, very few slokas there. So he is now giving a link between that chapter and this chapter. Atita Anantara Adhyaya, that immediately preceding Adhyaya, that there is a sloka there, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam. With that, there is a set of traits of a realized person there who is called a Bhakta, and how he behaves and what his nature is and all that, and how therefore he is very, very dear to the Lord. So that aspect is now brought out here. Advaita Sarvabhutanam Ityadina Yavate Adhyaya Parisamaptihi. Till the end of that chapter, certain traits of that Tattvajnani who is called Bhakta there, Bhagavad Bhakta there, Tavate Tattvajnaninam Sanyasinam Nishtha. So he is called a Tattvajnani who is a realized person, and he is a sannyasi. His Nishtha, or his the true bearings of that person, Yathate Vartante, how they behave and all that. Just like in the second chapter, when Arjuna asked, Sitapragnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava Sidadi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrijeta kim. So where he had asked for the details about how a Sitaprajna or a Aproksha-jnani behaves and what his mental state is and all that. In the same way here also, Bhagavad Pada says that this chapter also, 12th chapter also, has stated the manner of the Tattvajnani, although he is called a Bhakta here. So Vartante Ityetate Uktam. केन पुनः ते तत्त्वज्ञानेन युक्ताः यथोक्तधर्माचरणात् भगवतः प्रियाः भवन्ति इति एवमर्थश्च अयमध्यायः आरभ्यते. So here, this 13th chapter has got one more purpose, apart from the purpose of determining the true nature of Ishvara, which is Nirguna Brahman. The other purpose is this, that is, Kena Punaha Tattvajnanena, what kind of Tattvajnanam is there with these people who are very, very rare and who are, by virtue of that Tattvajnanam, they have become dear to the Lord. So Tattvajnanena Yuktaha Yatokta Dharma Charanat. So what kind of behavior is there, what kind of Anushtanam they have performed and how they behave now. All these things are stated here. All these things are the ones which have made them dear to the Lord. Bhagavataha priyaha bhavanti iti evavartascha ayam adhyayaha arabhyate. So here in this 13th chapter, the method of practice which culminates in a person becoming Tattvajnani and thereby become dear to the Lord. That also is being stated in this chapter. So that is one more aspect here in this 13th chapter. Then Prakritishcha Tribunatmika Sarvakarya Karana Vishayakarena Parinata Pushasya Bhogapavargartha Kartavyataya Dehendriyadi Akarena Samhanyate. So here, the Prakriti, which is called Kshetram, it is made of three gunas, or its very nature is three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. That's called Maya, that Prakriti, Sarvakarya Karana Vishaya Karena. So, Sarvakarya Karana Vishaya Karena. So here, there are so many things involved in this. Karya is the Stula Shariram, is the cross body. Karana is the Sukshma Shariram, which is the which comprises of the instruments, that is Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, Antakaranam, Buddhi, Manas, and all that. Antakaranam is what is constituted of Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahankara, and the Prana also is there. So all these are there in the Panchakoshas, and the Stula Shariram is one kosha, and the rest of them can be stated to be the Sukshma Shariram. So Sarva Karya Karana Vishaya Karana. Vishaya is the outside world of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha, with which the individual interacts and experiences samsara. So Sarva Karya Karana Vishaya Karana Parinata. So the Tribunatmika Prakriti is the one which has evolved into these three categories, that is Sukshma Shariram, Stula Shariram on the one hand, and on the other hand, the outside world of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha. So the entire Prakriti is now encapsulated in this one word called Kshetra, and it will be expounded in this chapter itself in the sequel. Parinata Purushasya Bhoga Apavarga Apavargartha Kartavyataya Dehendriyadyakarena Samhanyate. So Prakriti is the one which is which has for its Prakriti has for its goal to provide Bhoga and Apavarga. So this aspect is accepted in the Sankhya system also. So they also say that Prakriti or Pradhanam, they call Prakriti as Pradhanam, and the Pradhanam is there to supply all that is required for the experience. So the word enjoyment might give a feeling that only joy or happiness is experienced by this jiva, but that's not the case. So instead of saying enjoyment, we can say experience. Any experience of misery and happiness, everything is provided by this Prakriti, depending on the karma of the jiva. So Bhoga, Apavarga. Apavarga is moksha. Bhoga is the experience of samsara. Apavarga is the freedom from samsara. Both these aspects are within the gamut of the Prakriti. So that's something which is very, very surprising also. Sometimes it might look like, how can this Jada Prakriti or something which is inert and which is of three gunas even provide moksha? But then the fact is that since Brahman by itself is without samsara, there is no question of bandha itself. So there is no question of moksha also. So both bandha and moksha are relative and they are part of the relative world only. And naturally, Prakriti is the one which provides the jiva with all the inputs that are required for him to perform sadhana also and attain moksha. And that aspect comes from the sattva aspect of this Trigunatmika Maya. And we can recall Sri Ramakrishna, how he portrays this concept. He says there are two kinds of Maya, Vidya Maya and Avidya Maya. So both are Maya, definitely. But then he says Vidya Maya is the one which takes you towards liberation, that is Apavarga, and Avidya Maya is the one which keeps you bound to samsara. So if a person wants to come out of samsara, he has to propitiate that Vidya Maya by stuti and namaskara and puja and asana and all that, by which that Vidya Maya will be pleased and she will take him away from samsara, that is Avidya Maya, and provide him moksha. So the provision, the providing moksha, providing power also is there in the Maya itself, and binding power also naturally is in Maya itself. So both these are there. So we can even give a it's in Mahabharata. We all know that the Kauravas wanted to finish off the Pandavas in one go and one shot, and they create what is called a Lakshagriha, that is a house made of combustible items, and Pandavas are asked to innocently live there, and once they occupy that place, someone is asked to set fire to that house, and the expectation is that all of them will perish there. But then some good soul comes to know of this scheme, and he decides to save the Pandavas, and he is the one who creates this Lakshagriha, and by doing that, without the knowledge of the Kauravas, he would have created a secret exit from that house, so that the Pandavas come to know of that and they escape from that route, and they come out unscathed. So this example is useful for us in understanding this aspect of Maya, where it provides an inbuilt exit also from samsara. So that's why that analogy was brought in here. So Dehendriyakaran Samhanyate. So here the Maya or Prakriti or Kshetram transforms itself into the body-mind complex and outside world of objects, with which the body-mind complex, the person who identifies himself with that body-mind complex, he interacts with the world, outside world. Soyam Sanghataha Idam Shariram. So that body is called, that's why Bhagavad Gita in this one sentence itself, he has used this body-mind complex concept twice. First, he's used it along with the, to say what all the Maya transforms itself into. And again, at the end, he emphasizes the body aspect, because the first sloka of this chapter is about the body. The body in the sense body-mind complex. So Soyam Sanghataha. Sanghata is an assembly. It is a conglomeration of several aspects. We can use in simple terms. We can say that it is a assembly of body and mind, and the mind itself. We can give other components like the prana, indriyas, and things like that. So idam shariram. So this shariram is what is called this body-mind complex. That's why it is sanghata. It is not simply the stula shariram, but it is also endowed with the sukshma shariram, which is the real. That is the one without which the body is useless. So that is the one, and without the body, the sukshma shariram also can't do anything. So these two have to come together, and it is the sukshma shariram aspect of it is the one which transmigrates from one body to another. So when this stula shariram dies, the sukshma shariram does not undergo death at all, and there is no death really for this sukshma shariram. And according to this Vedanta, the sukshma shariram, although it was created anadi once from the Panchabhutas, that is the apanchikrita Panchabhutas, it continues from body to body and continues to exist till the person gets liberation. And at the last, the the birth in which he gets, the life in which he gets liberation is his last birth. And when that body, Sthula Shariram, dies, the Sukshma Shariram there, it will not transmigrate, but it will disintegrate into its Panchabhutas, and it will merge with the Panchabhutas. So that's what the Upanishads teach us. So here the first shloka goes like this. Tadetat Bhagavan Uvacha, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramit Avideyate, Etadyo Veti Tam Prahuhu Kshetragneti Tadvidaha. So Bhagavan says, Idam Shariram, this body, this Shariram, Kaunteya, he is addressing Arjuna, Kshetramit Avideyate. This body is called Kshetram. So Kshetram is a term. It is a term used in a technical way. So Kshetram, it's called Kshetram. Etadyo Veti, the one who is aware of this Kshetram, this body, Tam Prahuhu, he is called Kshetragna iti Tadvidaha. He is called Kshetragna, and again it's a term in this, it's a kind of a Paribhashika term, that is a technical term in this chapter, in this Vedanta. So iti Tadvidaha. So the ones, those who about the ways of samsara and the way to come out of samsara, they are the jnanis. So they call, Krishna says, they call, those people call this body by the name Kshetram, and the one who is aware of this body as Kshetragna. So this is the meaning of the first shloka. Of course, we will be seeing the Bhashyam also. And in the sequel, even though Bhagavan has said that the Kshetram is, it appears that the body, the Kshetram is restricted to this body, the body which we all very clearly are aware of. But then the true meaning of the extent of this Kshetram will be stated in the 5th and 6th shlokas, where it will encompass the outside world also. So that is also to be taken into consideration. But now in this shloka, this much is enough. So we will take up the Bhashyam of this shloka in the next shloka. Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramit Avideyate Etadyo Vetti Tam Prahuhu Kshetragneti Tadvidaha Narayana Paro Vyakta Dandam Avyakta Sambhavam Andasyanta Strime Lokaha Saptadvipacha Medini Shastram Sharira Mimamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharyaha Santume Janma Janmani Vidyavinaya Sampannam Vetaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvagnam Vidushekara Bharatim Om Tat Sat.